All right. It says I'm live on Candid Camera. No. Let me see the monkey hair. Everybody's getting prepared for the next wave of snow that's coming in tonight. Gravy, we've had more snow in the past 30 days than Iowa has seen in a decade or longer. And that's the truth. I haven't seen snow like this since I was a young man anyway. I want to say a kid, but I don't know. My memory ain't go back as great as it was. But that's not what we're here for. I just did a little while ago, I did a video on this topic for a closed VR group that's on Facebook with a bunch of outstanding gentlemen and ladies and GMs and everyone. And it's Game Masters, for those of you who are not familiar with the acronyms and the vernacular, which, of course, every year. One of the flaws or issues with RPG combat in my opinion, is that it can take an awful lot of time away from gameplay. It is gameplay, don't get me wrong, it's part of the game and you're playing. But you can spend an hour or more of your valuable game session time at the table throwing dice, maneuvering miniatures or tokens or what have you, and arguing and debating the merits of what this attack did or where we're going with that or what should we do next. And one of the ways of speeding that up is these things called hit location charts, and I'll get into that here in a second. The thing with, in my opinion, when it comes to combat on the role-playing game table, is that a lot of times, because it takes so long in actual real time to play out a combat encounter of any sort, that the players and the GM that sometimes will forget that in reality what's taking place in the world in the time period for the characters is very brief. It is rare that an actual combat scenario lasts more than a minute, maybe 2 minutes tops in real world analogy time, because your average round is 6 seconds. Average round. So ideally that means 3 seconds. Your players had 3 seconds to act, think, or pursue whatever it was or say whatever it was they were going to say, and then the other half of that combat round is devoted to the opponents reacting to or delivering up their own version. So if you have let's just say four players, and you have 4 NPCs or monsters or what have you that's in conflict, we now have eight individual sets of roles, actions, responses, opinions, what have you, that have to be addressed every 6 seconds. In the real world time, that's usually 5 or 10 minutes. At 6 seconds took 5 or 10 minutes of game time to deal with. And one of the things that the hit location charts have done, other than to bring a little bit more level of realism to conflict, which, maybe you're not into that, and like I said, we'll get to that part. I can't blame you 100%. The point is to speed up the combat, is to bring things more to a close quicker and potentially more lethal. At some point it evolved into what we know as the critical hit charts in a lot of lesser games. So when we look at games like AD&D, Dungeons and Dragons, their hit location charts, and there's a version very much in every version of the game that's come out, they have a variant on this topic. They're pretty short and quick to the point. They're only telling you more or less where the blow landed, not so much anything else. No other details or advantages to it. And it's about as basic as it comes, and it functions, it works, it has a purpose if you want to use it. But a lot of people tend to not use it because there's no advantage to it, right? There's no bonus. So in Rolemaster, which I'm quite enamored with when it comes to this particular part of Rolemaster, the hit location charts are extensive. And we have, games like Call of Cthulhu and I'm dropping the ball on a couple of these games that I know of that have them, but a large share of RPGs have some variant thereof on the hit location charts, and some are quite gruesome and broad, and some are not. In the case of Rolemaster, they get descriptive. So we not only have a location, you get hit in the torso or the shoulder or the arm or the back or the head or the foot, you also get a response to what a visual of what may or may not taken care of, so you gut somebody and their stuff falls out, or blood splatters, or they're now bleeding profusely. So we have some advantages in here because they also attach things like additional damage and continuing damage and or other effects. So as an example, you get hit in the head with a weapon, a bladed weapon, you are potentially going to take an additional couple points of damage in addition to the weapon's damage and any modifier that the character can deliver or the NPC can deliver. You're going to get potentially a bleeder, which means you're going to have X amount of hit points per round, continuing to drain. So you're going to, unless somebody can stop that bleeding in the middle of the battle, you have a good chance of bleeding out if the battle goes too long, or you may be forced to stop your part and withdraw for a moment to address your wound. And this goes for your opponents as well, which might give you an advantage or an opportunity attack of opportunity to finish them off, i.e. speed things up. And then there's obvious kinds of damage. So in certain elements, we're rolling. Traditionally, it's a D100. It's a percentage system, but I've seen a lot of D20 systems and D10s as well. So the charts are short. Roll a D20 or roll a D10, what have you. It doesn't matter. D10, D100. It all still achieves the same goal. So you get hit in the head, and you get hit in the head with a slash weapon or an edged weapon. You take a slashing wound, which now you're bleeding. And in the case of like Rolemaster and some others, you might have just lost your nose or your ear. Physically speaking, that might be detrimental to your character. Now, if they take a damage to their left ear, perhaps they're going to lose some of their hearing, and they now have a negative to their perception roll because of it. Perhaps it's severe enough that's disfiguring, and later down the road, the characters either have to spend some serious coin to find somebody who can regrow their ear or fix the damage, if that's possible. It also can add flavor and color to the character itself by saying now the character has a missing ear on his left side, or has a nasty scar that didn't heal properly across his belly, etc., etc. So there's always the aesthetic addition to this sort of thing. But the other parts is that if you take a blow to the head and is sufficiently serious enough, potentially that location roll is also going to prompt you to roll on a stun chart, which means the character or the NPC could have taken a stunning hit, which in addition to taking damage is now either reduced in capacity to continue combat or knocked out completely and at the mercy of their opponent. See how we just expedited something that could potentially have taken 4 or 5 or 6 exchanges of dice rolls to represent this attack round, and we've reduced it to potentially 1 or 2 because of a good hit. And generally speaking, when we talk about hit location charts, there's no modifiers, there's no feats that you can apply to them to improve or to defend against the location. So obviously, in my game terms, I look at things with practicality. So if two foes are facing off and you roll they take a hit to the back, well, that's not going to happen unless the weapon justifies it. So if the character or the monster is using, say, a chain or a Morning Star, a ball and chain kind of weapon, there's a possibility that the chain could have arced up and around and hit him in the back of the head or the back, and I can live with that. But if you're thrusting a sword from the front, you're not hitting the back. I don't care what you do. I don't care how fancy you are on your feet. It was 3 seconds. You did not have time to dance around, spin around, jump up and down, and whip that sword up in the direction. It is not a magic sword that can do that. Unless, of course, it is. Apparently there are magic bullets that can hit from 3 different angles and ricochet and come back around and hit somebody, a third person. So, I mean, we're not going to go into that, but you know what I'm saying, right? Right? Yeah. Awesome. Page here, goddammit. That's, excuse the French. That's, well, the language anyway. I guess not right to blame the French for our colorful terminology sometimes. Anyhow, so the idea behind the critical hit, or not the hit location chart, is to expedite combat and to give color and additional potential issues to make the battle faster and potentially more lethal. This can be good or bad depending on how you look at it. And I think in some aspects that's why a lot of people have not don't tap them as often as others, because it is a chance of being a lot more lethal to the characters as it is to the NPC. Now, something to keep in mind, and this is something I encourage in my table, to expedite things. Roll all of your stuff at once. What? What do you mean? What do you mean? What, Batman, you're losing your mind. Oh, we can't do that. Yes, you can. Come on. So we're going to have an attack roll, and win or lose, if we hit our target, we know that weapon's going to do damage. So let's designate a die for that damage purpose, and we'll roll the attack roll and the die roll and the damage roll at the same time. And since we know we're going to utilize the hit location charts, let's throw in a third die or set of die that will deal with that situation. So, in concert, the player throws a handful of dice. If he hits, then he's done damage, and we know where. All in one go. None of this die and then die and then die. No, throw it all once. If you miss, then you ignore the dice. I mean, come on, really? Come on! Work with me here, people. This helps mitigate some of those people who complain, oh, we gotta roll so many dice. Why? Roll them all at once. I don't know about you, but I got a hefty bag of dice. I got enough dice in my bag I could use it for a weapon and plunge in a burglar with it. Not that I would risk my valuable collection of dice that way, but you know what I'm saying. Hey, there goes one of my competitors. A big competitor too. We don't deal in their stuff. Yeah, thankfully. Those fellas clean out pig septic systems. You ever been to a pig farm? That's a big tank underneath those buildings. I'm just saying, right? Anyway, just saying. So, the value here of using hit location charts. Now, about the crit part. At some point, somebody thought, hey, we need to have this crit, this ultimate hit, ultimate fumble stuff. Okay, I have to come over there, friend. Thank you. Some people always assume that they own the road. Maybe they're from out of town. They don't know that this is how this works over here. But, all right. So at some point, somebody decided, okay, an automatic 20 is an automatic hit, and an automatic a 1 is an automatic fumble. And then there are other people will say, well, no, a 1 is just 1 plus whatever the modifier, so nobody can really get a 1. Let's not go into that. That's a different video, right? But from a critical perspective, and I've never been a fan, and I'm not sure if it was 2nd or 3rd edition or where this cropped up when it comes to AD&D, but Dungeons and Dragons, some genius thought, well, hey, it's not enough just to get a 20. Let's make them roll a second 20. So we know they got an automatic hit. Let's just make sure it's a crit. See, somehow along the line, they wanted to make the game less lethal. No, you get a crit, straight up. If your weapon says a 20 is a crit, then a 20 is a 20. It's not 15 plus your hit modifier. It's the exact perfect 20 on the dot. Modifiers don't count. And if your weapon is a 19 and 20, then it's a 19 and 20. I mean, that's what makes the weapon much more a lethal weapon. That's why certain magic applications can be applied to your weapons to enhance the crit range. Just saying, right? If you really want to be twisted, you can go the opposite direction with that. You can have a cursed weapon have an enhanced failure. So on a 1 and a 2, they fumble, fail. That's a different video from a different time. I'm not going to get into that. Yes, I'm trying to keep this video reasonably short for me. The basic concept. So we got the crit. We take it. We get an actual 20, and then we would roll on the hit location chart and magnify the damage. In this case, so if we're already using the hit location chart to define where we're hitting somebody, we don't want to use it as the crit modifier or the crit thing as well. So in that case, we're going to say that the crit magnifies the damage. You know you've done critical damage. We roll the location to where that damage is applied, and then we hit double up. And what I mean on double up is, I mean double up. So if your weapon does 2 dice 6 damage, now you get to play 4 dice 6, not 2 dice 6 times 2, 4 dice 6. And if you know this, then you can go ahead and toss, an extra couple of 2 die, whatever it takes in that case. Or if you know you're prone and you've got the extra dice, once again, we can designate those blue 6-sided dice, for example, as that extra critical hit damage if I get lucky enough to actually score an actual crit and have already tossed the dice, so we don't have to go back and roll yet another set of dice. That's kind of what we're going for here. The whole point, as I understood it back in the day, for hit location charts, other than for color, for in-game visuals, so you visualize, I hit the guy in the freaking head and I took out his eyeball. Right? How gory is that? But how much more effective is that against your opponent? The opponent might not have croaked, you might not have killed off your opponent, but now you blinded him in one eye, and how painful is that? How much, in some aspects, Rollmaster to some degree, and my own homegrown working title of Stellar Frontiers, which I favored when I used my crit location tables. I included some things like additional or negatives for extreme pain. So if you lose a body part, you're in trouble. You really are not going to be at your peak, and you probably need to reconsider your combat situation, what you're going to do, and whether or not it's time to extradite yourself from the situation. Well, the Fat Man's at the shop. I'm going to put the truck in the garage for the rest of the day or the afternoon. I got a couple of jobs this evening, and I went to see if the monkeys in there got my damn spot all plugged up. I don't know. Till the next time, this is the Fat Man saying, game on. I'm going to get in here without tearing up everything. It is a tight parking lot, that's all I know. All right. Yeah, I love this. There's supposed to be a thing, and you just have to... How do we stop?